Hi, my name is Dr. Tariq Hakky, and I'm so excited today because I've got all 4 of the penile implant pumps here that are available in the United States for me to play with. So let's get started. Take a look at these, okay? So let's get started on what the oldest implants are, right? So you guys are all familiar with the Titan Classic, right? This is the Classic pump. It's an inline pump, right? Which means that the cylinders are in line with each other, right? So the nice thing about this design is it's very small, okay? Right? So, and it doesn't matter which direction it's in, right? So the going for this device is small. Who's that really gonna benefit, right? Somebody that's transgender. A transgender man is probably gonna have a tight neoscrotum, and this is just not gonna have space, right? So this is something that I usually like in transgender men. The other thing that's interesting about it is there is no one direction this must face in, because the bar buttons that are here are usually, interchangeable. I could do this or do this, and the implant sits there. There will be inherently less rubbing on the tubing because the tubing's in line, right? So that's an intelligent design right there, right? What we don't like about it, there's only 2 valves on it, right? So you can override this system, right? So you can have auto inflation, right, from overriding the valve. You can inflate the system just by hitting the lockout valve on the reservoir, and I'm inflating the cylinders, right? So because it only got 2 of the 2 valves there, see that? All right, and you can deflate that like that. It's really easy to hit these bars, right? And then, you've got, you've also got the fact that it makes sound, so you can hear. It can be loud, right? So I don't know if you want to warn your partner that you're about to attack them with an erect penis, but that can be a problem. Now, let's attack the device itself. Now, it's coming in at, I'm using calipers here that have been activated. We're coming in from top to bottom at 36 millimeters, right? So it's one of the smallest top to bottom implants available. Width-wise, we're looking at the widest part of the pump here is 24.2, 23.2. That's the widest part of the pump there. Your deflate calipers, right? They're gonna stick out around .4 millimeters. Okay, that's on both sides. So you're looking at a total elevation of 6.8 millimeters or 3.4 on each side. Remember, there's no one side to this device. I technically think there's a 4-sided implant. So as far as sidedness goes, it can go this way, or sideways. So that's an advantage for a patient, right? This is a soft pump, quick release on the release as usual. It's got a thinner dipping mandrel here for the thickness, right? And it's got that noisier pump, okay? So the next implant we're going to talk about is the American Medical Systems pump that they have, right? This is the one you guys are all familiar with, right? This has been around for quite some time. It's a pretty smooth pump, but the recoil you'll see is kind of rather slow, right, on the device, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start by measuring it, okay? So you're looking at a top to bottom measurement here of 41, okay? 41.1 millimeters, top to bottom measurement, right? The width diameter of this one is 29.7 millimeters. So it's one of the widest ones on the market, right? You're looking at width measurement here, right? For this device, we said was 23. So 31 to 23. So this is a lot fatter, right? This block is a lot fatter. It's a very slow recoil. We can just put the 2 side by side, and we can just pump them, and you'll see that the Titan reinflates a lot quicker than the Classic than this, okay? The deflate button is designed, and it's much higher than the Coloplast one, right? You can see this is measuring, gonna get exact measurements here. Its width is 6.8 around. It's and where this caliper length here is 13. So your bar base right here is around double the bar base of this. So this is 13 millimeters, sorry, this is 6 millimeters in diameter. That's around 13 millimeters. That's the length of the bar of the device for you to find. That's the space that the finger's got to find it. So this surface area of the button, actual pressing button item, is actually 6 millimeters. So it's a small deflate button to find. However, it sticks up 3.5 millimeters, right? Whereas the Coloplast one sticks up at 2.4. So this sticks up a lot higher. So, we've got that and we've got that, okay? Let's go ahead and weigh these two, okay? And we'll get their weights and we'll just do a head-to-head on the weight. So we've got this right here. These are both filled, pumped, just to weigh them. Right here I've got 12 grams. Okay, zeroed out. The Classic, a whopping 9. So it's a heavier pump inside the body. So this is a heavier pump, slower, easier button to lift up topographically, but smaller button to actually hit. Like the target that you're hitting is smaller, okay? Now, the next pump that came out is the Titan Touch, right? So the Titan OTR was sunset in 2018, and this one came out. Now, let's go start analyzing this device. This device is a lot longer, okay? This device is sitting in at, from the top of the device down to the bottom of the device, it's sitting at exactly 44.2 millimeters. So it's the longest of all of the implants. So if you look, the AMS one was 41, and this one's 44.2, right? The Classic pump was 35, and this is again measuring at 44.2. Okay, so it's the longest implant that's been made. Okay, it's got 3 lockout valves opposed to American Medical Systems, or this one has 3 as well. Right, so it's same as the American Medical Systems lockout system, right? Opposed to the 2 found in the Classic. Okay, the Deflate button sticks up a whopping, it's around, the button's 6.1 millimeters around. The target zone that you're trying to hit is 6.1 opposed to 6.8. So it's actually a smaller target for you to hit than the old AMS device, right? So that's interesting. It sticks up 2.4 millimeters. So it's the same, it sticks up about the same from the base, and there's also a step up in there, right? A little bit less than this, right? This was 2.8, right? And it's on both sides, so you got 2 bars to kind of find. 2.8 here, and again, remeasuring this again, this is coming in at a whopping 2.6, okay? It's a smooth pump, a little bit harder, okay? This dipping mandrel is a little bit thicker, okay? So you can see it's a little bit thicker, smooth pump. You can see it's a little bit slower on the recoil, but it's silent compared to the Classic. Very quick. Now, compared to the AMS one, it's a lot faster on the recoil, sorry. See, that takes a lot longer. So this is a slower pump, right? This is a quicker pump, but a little bit more pressure, but your actual bullseye target's tiny. They actually shrunk your bullseye target. At least this bar was a nice long bar. Yeah, it didn't stick up much, but there was a nice long bar there. Now, like we talked about with the other AMS product, Coloplast and AMS basically on the old device has the black tubing frontwards, right? Anatomically, this makes 0 sense. Why? Because the penis has the cylinders sitting in front of the reservoir. The reservoir sits next to the bladder. Well, guess what that's going to do to the pump? It's going to rotate it. You see? So the design wants to push the button facing frontwards because that's the way the cylinders are to sit, but your reservoir sits behind anatomically the implant. So you're forever pulling, or like pulling the yoke back. You're yoking back your pump to rotate your pump. And you can see that again here with this design. You can see that the design flaw here is the same thing. You're going to try and be rotating the cylinders one way, right? And they're going to be pushing the tubing, pulling it another direction, right? I tend to find this easier to deflate on its side anyways, because your thumb is easier to hit that button, right? So, you know, pros and cons right there, right? Let's weigh this one. It's a lot longer, right? It's let's check its width because I didn't do that yet. Its widest diameter is 23 millimeters, right? And we checked the AMS one to be 29.8, and the Coloplast widest diameter of the touch is 23. So it's a lot fatter. This is a lot fatter device, right? Now the Classic, right? Same, it's 23.8. It's a nice skinny implant. It's also short, right? Now, let's check the weights, right? The weight measurements of this, let me turn it back on again, sorry. So the weight measurement here is 15, okay? The weight measurement here is 18. The weight measurement here hold on, 13. So that's, where's that again? 13. Hold on 1 second. It's got to be reproducible. So I got 18, 13. Let's check this one again. 18. So this is measuring at the same weight as this. So these weigh the same. And that's going to be important inside the scrotum because this is inside some guy's ball sack. Okay? Now, AMS just came out and I was so blessed to get my hands on their new TENACIO. So let's go take a look at this bad boy. So this, just for me looking at it, the button sticks up a lot higher than even their old device, right? So that's the number one complaint I've got is this deflate button is just hard to find. And the worst days of the week for me are activation days, right? So easy to press, easy to find, right? Pumps pretty smooth. It's slower on the recoil than I say the Coloplast one, the Classic, but it's about the same speed as the Titan Touch. But I can also do micro pumps on it too, right? There's 4 check valves in this, where there's 3 with the Coloplast Titan Touch, and there's 3 on the old AMS device, and there's 2 on the Titan Classic. Okay, it's got the blocky ears still, but the blocky ears are definitely trimmed down, so it's a lot narrower. We'll head to head it real quick and see how wide it is now. They've made the pump a little smaller and they made it a little shorter. Let's actually get the data off of them right now. So if you look at the data right here, you can see this is 40.1 in length. Now we already said the Coloplast Titan Touch is the longest implant available, coming in at a whopping 43.8. 43.8 is the length of this. And you can see the new TENACIO, they dropped down the length of that pump to 42.3. That's measuring from the top of the pump to the very bottom of the pump, okay? I'm measuring, there's a ridge in the back. I'm using this ridge back here. So it's the highest point of the pump to the lowest point of the one. 42.3 is the measurements there. Now the max width is now these calipers, right here. And we're gonna put the calipers here. And this is 26.8 wide, right? So that's how wide the device is. Now the old AMS product, right, was whopping 29. So we've gone down to 26, right? 26.4. And now the Coloplast products are smaller at 24, right? So it's still wider than a Titan, okay? Now, what I will tell you is the old AMS device and the new AMS device, the pumps, this one's a little longer. You can just tell right now from just looking at it head to head that they made it a little bit longer. That kind of matters to me because that's easier to get, right? And also they got rid of these grips. While the grips are really nice as a surgeon, these are hard to dig out of the body, right? The pineapple design on the inside of the scrotum is something that this kind of gets stuck in and it's hard to dig out. While it's designed for grip, it's not easy to remove. I anticipate, while I haven't removed one yet that's been inside the body, this is easier to remove, right? It's a smaller silhouette, which is better for patients, right? So I think this is an overall better design. I'm not the biggest fan of the block up here. patients in general, in my 13 years of doing this, don't grab in their balls, right? Why? Or don't grab up here. Why? Their balls are there. They can't grab through their testicles and pull this forward and then pump it. It's just stupid, right? They usually end up grabbing the pump and then pumping it like that. That's usually how most guys end up doing it. They end up doing it like that, right? So they don't end up finding the blocks to stabilize it. What I would have told the AMS and the Coloplast folks is make a runway to find this instead of making just like the same shape all the way around. So if I grabbed it here, I wouldn't know which way it is. It doesn't matter to me. Well, it does kind of, but it'd be easier to say, oh, this is the side, this is the front. I could feel the pump, so I could find the deflate button. I could use the pump to find the deflate button. I can't do that here. I can't do that here. I can't do that here. And I certainly can't do that here because it's the same, okay? Now, if you look here, right, this is intelligently designed as far as the deflate button goes, right? So you can see that the deflate button sits anterior and the black tubing sits posterior. So it's never going to yoke. If the reservoir is on the right or the left, it's never going to yoke. Look at that. It actually, the TENACIO will actually orient the button frontwards for the surgeon. That's better for both the surgeon and the patient because that means the button will always be frontwards. And you can see the old design, right? From the old AMS design here, you can see it got that yoking again. See that? And you got the Coloplast design here, right? Well, you've got that yoking again, right? See, it's just going to turn it around, right? But then you go back to the classic and you can see something that was available in the older models that didn't really matter. I can turn this around, right? And it doesn't really matter because it'll spin it. So the classic still wins in reversibility, size, and ease of push. But it's loud. The deflate button calipers are kind of hard to find. It's got 2 valves and it's overrideable. Whereas the TENACIO's got 4 valves, right? It's easier for micro presses. And I think a lot of guys are kind of ginger on their balls when they first get started and they do those micro presses that we're talking about. I do know that this is a true one-touch release, right? And I can feel that. It is a little bit more difficult to feel that click. There's not much of a vibratory feedback. There's not any vibratory feedback with the Coloplast one. I literally have to make my finger have a dent in it. And I can see, oh, I've deflated it. And then I can squeeze it. And I do it by feel, right? And I can feel it locking when I pump it. Not so with the TENACIO. I can't really feel it locking when I'm just pumping it through, right? You can't really hear it. I can feel a pop with my fingers. There's minimal vibratory feedback. You can actually kind of hear a little bit of a click. Listen. You hear that click? You can hear a little bit of a click. Well, you can't hear that here. Silence, right? And I think that, here you don't hear anything either. You just hear the fluid going through, right? So the other thing that, I want to draw to your attention is the smooth pumping, right? So it's nice smooth pumping. It's about the same as the Coloplast. We'll measure it out now and get some weights. So, see? It's coming in about the same. It's about a little bit quicker, but it's coming in the same. It's a little bit smaller volume per pump because it's actual smaller pump than the actual Coloplast pump. But its recoil is about the same. Like if I push them together, they'll recoil about the same. You saw that was about the same, right? So I think that's actually a great design improvements. These are steps forward and steps forward for men, and we deserve these for men because there's not much development in the realm of penile prosthesis pump. And pumpology is something that I think every surgeon struggles with, no matter who you are, right? And so we want to see here what the weight is. Because remember, this is going in between somebody's ball sack. So if you look here, this one's measuring at a whopping 12. So they made this light. Let's measure it again because it's measure twice, cut once, right? So you hear, this is 16. I'll try it again. It's zeroed out. Measure it again. 14. Weight. 14. So we're going to go with 14 on the weight here. It's zeroed out. We're going to go here with the weight. Okay, I got 14. Okay, I got 18. Let's do it again. Wait till it's 0. I got 11. Hold on. I think it's moving. I can't have it move. Okay, 16. So I got 16 here, final. We're going to do that again, off. And again, 16. Okay. And then let's do the TENACIO. 23, let's come off. No, it's at 4, let's 0 it. 20, 0, 18. So this is coming at 18. This is coming, no, 14. Hold on, 14. Let's do that again. Come off. 0 it. Maybe having some technical difficulties here. 16, 17. So I got 17 here. 16 here. Let's do that again. 17, 18. It's flickering between the two. 16. So this is actually slightly heavier, right, by 1 gram, right? It's slightly shorter and it's slightly stockier, fatter, but the pump itself is easier to find. And if you look right here at just the pump itself, you can see topographically that that pump is longer, right? You can also see topographically head to head that that button sticks up a shit ton more than that one, right? Now let's go for target landing zone, right? So let's take a look here. So this now, the new diameter of this new button is 9.6 is your target millimeter, okay? 9.6, that's nice, right? The old AMS thing is 6.8 or 7.0. So 7, 8, 9. So they made it 2 millimeters wider, right? It now sticks up a whopping 4.6 millimeters, right? Where the old one stuck up 3.7, right? And the Coloplast one is sticking up half of that, 2.4, right? So this button sticks up a whole lot more. The target for you to actually press is a lot larger and it clicks easier. So I think this is a huge improvement for Boston, right? Because you've got the correction of the yoking, which I never liked, which will diminish rubbing for sure, right? Right, you're gonna have less rubbing. Why? Because you're gonna have the orientation of the cylinders yoked back by the reservoir, right? You've got a little bit narrower design, not as narrow as I'd like. I'd like them to shave this all the way down. I think these blocks could go all the way down, right? And it's got a longer pump that's a little bit smoother and allows for those guys that just want to do air pumps, like little air, like you know, bird breathing pumps. I think it's a lot better. I still think that the pump itself has a little bit more as far as like give to it. It's a little bit more give, just giving it like superficially, just pushing. This takes a little bit more pressure than I would think, right? The old AMS one had like initial push and then it kind of just has a slower recoil. And these, look at my fingers. That's, I mean, just from touching the old pump, look at my fingers. I have lines on them just from touching it. All right, and this one, it just doesn't leave as much of a mark. I don't have to push as hard. I'm really squeezing. So it's definitely a smoother pump, right? We're gonna check volume and see about volume. We would assume that the Titan and the AMS older versions are gonna have more volume distribution. So here we go for this. So we're gonna start with the AMS, or sorry, the Coloplast Titan Touch, and we're gonna start at 80 cc's and we're gonna go up and we're 90, okay? That's the volume displacement there. Because remember, this is inside somebody's ball sack, okay? Okay, 80, displace, 92, 93, we're over. So this is more displacement of water than the Coloplast, okay? So this has a larger volume displacement, okay? Let's see this. This is about the same, 92, it's just above the rest. It's going just into that 90 range. Yeah, it's like 92, 93, okay? And let's check the TENACIO now, here we go. It's about 92, 93 as well, it's 93. It's a little bit further along. So let's check and see if there's a difference between this here and then this here. This is just slightly under. The volume displacement of this device is slightly less than this, which would tell me that this would fit into the scrotum, while longer would displace the testicles further apart and would be better for the patient in that aspect. This would be easier to find and would still displace the testicles further apart, but have further displacement in the scrotum. You got to think about the fact that these are going inside people's bodies. These are devices we have to find the deflate buttons, we have to find the pumps, and they have to be sitting in between testicles. So when you anatomically think about it, you wouldn't want this to be so wide, you wouldn't want this device to be so long, and you'd want the button to be really easy to find. And if you could make it so it's multi-directional, that'd be even better. You can see that this device here has the slimness that you're kind of looking for because it's in between the testicles, right? You want this to be not noticed, right? But you can see that, the design is really very, very lacking when it comes to the deflate button. Really challenging, okay? So no device is perfect, right? And we're always in search of, what's best for our patients. I think it's really important for the surgeon and the patient to make educated decisions about what device is better for them. I only reviewed today the pumps. I didn't go through cylinders, tubing, issues like that. I only went through what the issues are I see as Dr. Hakky with the pumps that are currently available in the US market. And I'd like you guys to take a look further into designing these if we can and make them better for all men, right? And I think that we've come a long way from, the Titan Classic, right? And now to the TENACIO, where we're making improvements. And we're backsliding in certain areas that we have made improvements here and we just didn't carry them forward. And I'm hoping that we can make new designs that are easier for men to use, they're easier for their partners, and they're less of an inconvenience for surgeons to place and then replace. Thank you.